What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. I'm LotusAsakura, the one who never knows best, and in today's video I want to talk to you about Tekken 8 and what your rank may or may not say about you. So if we kick it on over to the monitor, you can see that right here pulled up I have this tweet from a user by the name of Aliet Faye. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name properly. If I'm not, please forgive me. But they have this infographic that they apparently got from Reddit from a user by the name of Not Quite Factual. Now I will say I went to Reddit to find this post to see if there's any additional information or anything like that with it. There wasn't, so we're just here with the tweet. But yes, we have a tweet from her with an infographic that says rank distribution infographic for Tekken 8. This is not data that I personally collected, but rather information gathered and published by Reddit user Not Quite Factual. It's extrapolated from a smaller data subset, so do not take this as 100% exactly accurate. Also worth noting that this tweet was made a week ago. So I'm a little bit late in covering this because I debated on whether or not I even wanted to make a video about this, but I thought it would be fun and I thought it would be interesting for a lot of you guys, and I kind of wanted to talk about it. So let me go ahead and blow this up a little bit more and let's go ahead and take a look and talk about it. Now, obviously, like I said, you take this with a grain of salt, not 100% factual. And something I want to note before we even get into this is that rank is not the end all be all of how good somebody is at the game, okay? There are a large number of people who don't even play ranked at all, which is also why you'll see there's so many people at the beginner ranks, because a lot of people, they just play with their friends, or they just play the story mode, or they only play, you know, quick matches or private matches with their friends, whatever, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who just don't care about ranked and don't play it. But even just beside that, I've never been a firm believer that ranked is the best indicator of how good somebody is. There is a correlation there. The higher up in ranked you go, typically the better players you're going to be. But the ratio is like, it's not 1-to-1, you know what I'm saying? Just because somebody's a certain rank doesn't mean that they're good, and just because somebody's a lower rank doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean, oh, you look like I'm
warrior rank, but I should really be like rising, you know what I'm saying? I just, you know, I don't.
No, it's not quite, it don't quite work like that. But for the most part in Tekken, the top players actually do play ranked, and they are going to be the maximum rank in the game at one point or another. So just something to keep in mind. But with that, even though the correlation may be a little loose, rank does somewhat indicate where players lie and what their skill level may or may not be. And I think we have a pretty nice bell curve going on here that kind of indicates exactly what you would expect in this game. So you can see that from beginner, we have 5%, 1.23 in first dan, second dan, and all the way up to warrior, I would say, is where this really starts to matter. Because in this game, if you're not aware, you don't demote or go down in ranks for losing until you get to warrior rank. So even if you're, you know, relatively new to Tekken, most players with just a little bit of practicing, or even if you're just mashing a lot, you will eventually get to warrior rank as long as you play enough, right? And what you'll notice as well as we go through these is that outside of basically green ranks, you'll notice that the highest percentage, like in any given color, is always the highest at the first rank. Because what's common you're seeing for a lot of players and characters is people get to a certain like new level or new color, and then they kind of run away from ranked, right? Now, what immediately may be shocking to a lot of you guys is that Garyu is like the most populated and most saturated rank. There are 10.73% of players at the Garyu rank. Now, this might be surprising to a lot of people because I think a lot of people probably consider Garyu a pretty high rank. People kind of think that the red ranks is like a high rank. And I guess what you consider high rank is very subjective. It's very much based on your opinion, but I would consider that average. And I think the data here supports that. I would say that most average players can get that far. It also seems like the point where like people reach that and they're like, all right, that's it, I'm done. I beat Tekken, I got good at Tekken, and that's why I'm putting the controller down. Like, no more rank for me. That's very clearly what's going on here based off these numbers. But at the same time, like, that does put you above most of the players who win the game. So if I've done the math correctly and added up these percentages right here on the little calculator app on my phone, making it to Garyu and being in the red ranks would put you above 66.56% of players. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you're better than all those players, right? But you've made it further than about that many have. And again, this data is a week old. It's not necessarily 100% accurate, but you know, just to give you a general idea, you know, and I'm not saying it's not something to be proud of, right? Like, I have thoughts and opinions when it comes to ranks and like what these ranks mean in this game, like, because I have some genuine opinions that I want to share, and like I get asked about it a lot, right? But simultaneously, I don't want to come off as like elitist or anything like that, or like I'm being condescending or looking down on people, because I'll put it to you like this, right? When I was getting into Tekken 7, right, and I played when the game came out, and like you know, I grinded whatever, but I wasn't that good, and I've improved significantly, and I feel like I'm already better at Tekken 8 than I ever was at Tekken 7. But when I first started like really learning and grinding Tekken 7, I want to say it took me like over a year to get to warrior rank. And obviously, like, it's not even an opinion, like this is just subjective. It is far easier now to get to warrior than it was in Tekken 7, because you actually cannot lose points and get demoted from, let's say, you know, cavalry down to ranger in Tekken 8, whereas in Tekken 7 you could. Also, Tekken is a bit different because when you get demoted in this game, your next match is immediately a promotion match back to the rank that you were just at. Whereas in Tekken 7, once you got demoted, you got put back down to like the halfway mark and had to work your way back up. Your next match was in promo. You had to win a few games before you could get that promotion match back. Now, which system is better, which one I prefer, that doesn't really matter, but I say that to say that the ranks are a little bit inflated and it's a bit easier to get that initial start and to get to those yellow ranks than it was before. And I feel like that's kind of just the case in general, that getting to a higher rank is easier in Tekken 8 than it is in Tekken 7. So with that being said, while red rank initially in Tekken 7 might have been considered high rank, right? I don't really think it's necessarily like high rank now. That's kind of the average. And I think the data here shows that. That's why you see the largest number being at the very first red rank. Rank doesn't mean everything. You have rage quitters and pluggers and people who do one and done and like cherry picking their matches, whatever. So you like, if you're playing a certain way, you can get to a higher ranks and then not be very good at the game. Trust and believe, I'm a Fujin rank myself, so I'm over here in like the 1.69% of players who made it that far. And I've fought my fair share of both blue and purple rank players, so I'm like, this person's not very good, and they get mauled in the game one and then they leave. And it's like, I see how you got up to Battle Ruler, how you got up to Fujin, because you only fought people that you could beat, or you would rage quit, or you would one and done, whatever the case is, you know what I'm saying? So that's a big reason why ranked is never going to be the best indicator of skill, because just because somebody reaches a certain rank doesn't mean that they're going to be as good as you expect, and vice versa. Because I've beaten people who are much higher rank, and I've gotten beaten by people who are lower ranked than me. And like, obviously there's other factors like matchups and just knowledge of certain strings, whatever, but you get the point. Okay, so real quick, I just kind of wanted to chime in here and give a little opinion of mine on basically what these ranks mean in terms of what's high level, what's low level, what's intermediate, whatever. Because I get asked it a lot, and like, oh, is my rank good, or how much further should I go before I can be considered like a high level Tekken player and things like that. And I think that's really subjective and very opinion based, and people's perspectives on that are going to vary person to person. But based off my own experience and watching other players and watching online events, actually, as I'm recording this, I'm currently watching TNS right now as we speak. Online event for those of you who don't know. But I would say that red ranks should probably be considered the average, right? I think that's about where most players are striving to get to, and I think that's where most players can get to with just a little bit of time and practice. If you get to Mighty Ruler or to about Fujin, so purples to blue ranks, I would say that's about the intermediate level of play. Fujin is where I currently lie, and I would consider myself like an intermediate level player. And then Tekken King and beyond is where I would consider that high level or a high rank. If you make it that far, you're either really good at the game or one hell of a cheater. and that's basically my opinion on it. So that's where I'm striving to get one day, is Tekken King and beyond, God Destruction, and maybe enter an online event myself or two, maybe crack a top 8. I think I'm a long ways away from being able to do that. But that's kind of where my head is at. And like I said, your opinion may vary, may differ, but that's just my own personal opinion. So yeah, in case you were wondering, the game is also very, very popular and very saturated right now, right? Tekken A, it just released. It's doing really, really well. I just saw earlier today they tweeted out the game has officially sold like over 2 million copies and everything like that. We're only 1 month into the release, right? So it's going crazy numbers wise and popularity wise. But it also means there's a ton of new players, right? There are people who are brand new to the Tekken series, people who may not be brand new, but are like not necessarily that great. The game's still fresh and people are still having a lot of fun, which means that there's more players to go around that are of equal or lower skill level for you to rank up off of, right? So that just increases your chances of ranking up even more. For comparison's sake, by the way, talking about Tekken 7 compared to Tekken 8, I can't remember for sure, and I would just open up the game and tell you, but I don't have Tekken 7 installed on my PC or my PlayStation right now. That game's like 100+ gigs, so it's not very quick for me to do that. But I think I last left off as either a Seiryu or Suzaku rank in Tekken 7. In Tekken 8, as you can see very quickly, if I jump over, I'm Fujin rank. Even in Tekken 7, I was surprised at the ranks that I was achieving because I was never all that great. And Tekken 7 is one of those games where like I felt like red rank early on was like, a more respected rank and considered higher. And then by the end of Tekken 7 was like kind of average. And so that kind of transferred over into Tekken 8. We'll see how it goes. I guess only time will tell truly whether or not, the red ranks stay as saturated or if it kind of thins out a little bit, and how you perceive the rest of the ranks, purples, blues, and then, the next purples, and then gold and God of Destruction. But what I will say is that I don't think there's anything wrong with being proud of making progress or achieving a certain rank in the game. But there's no harm. It doesn't hurt anybody for somebody to feel like they've gotten good at the game, or that they improved, or that they made a lot of progress or came a long way from being a beginner or like starting out at whatever rank they did and making it this far. You know what I'm saying? Because like I've seen people like trying to rain on other people's parades on Twitter. It's like, oh nigga, you just a god. And like I get it, because I'm not gonna say it in front, like I may not make those types of jokes or make those types of comments myself at time to time. At the end of the day, unless somebody's like trying to flex on somebody else, it's really not that big of a deal. Like if I see, like if I'm scrolling my timeline, right, and I see somebody put a screenshot of them making it to Godu or making it to Mighty Ruler, and hell, I put a screenshot on Twitter when I made it to Mighty Ruler with my characters as well. You know what I'm saying? It's just something we do. I'm not gonna see that and it'd be like, because I'm Fujin, be like, oh nigga, you still ass or you trash. Like, why are you trying to show off this rank? Like, let them have that. You know what I'm saying? Now, if I see somebody who's a red rank, a Godu rank, shit talking somebody because they in warrior rank, then that's why I might say something like, nigga, you're a Gadio, you're not that nice. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where I feel like it's different. It's one thing when you're just proud of where you got from, but when you start trying to talk down to somebody else, it's like, nigga, you're not that good either. You know what I'm saying? Then I might have something to say. But that's just me. Anyway, before we wrap this video, I think something that'll be kind of fun or interesting to break down is basically do the math and see like what percentage of players that you're like over, I guess, in comparison to the rest of the ranks based on which color you're in. I guess we'll go from like Vanquisher and above. Like if you make it to the orange ranks, the red ranks, purple, blue, so on and so forth. Because basically anybody can get the warrior, and then like getting to warrior is like you finally first start getting like what I would say like is a real challenge, where you have to start learning or improving a little bit in order to, you know, successfully rank up, because you don't lose points before you get to warrior. So if you make it through warrior rank, it's like, okay, congratulations, you've made it past this percentage of players, and we'll do that for orange, red, purple, blue, so on and so forth. All right, so I did the math, and basically we're gonna break this down by color, starting from Vanquisher all the way up to essentially the purple ranks, not Mighty Ruler, but like Tekken King and beyond. And we're just gonna tell you what percentage of players that puts you above if you made it to those ranks. So starting off with Vanquisher rank, if you have made it to Vanquisher rank where 8.34% of players lie, that puts you above 44.83% of players. So I'm gonna go ahead and give yourself a little pat on the back. You're almost better than half the people on this game. However, if you make it to Gadio, which seems to be about the average place that most players can make it to if they play enough, that puts you in a group with 10.73% of the player base and above 66.5% of other players. Next, if you're one of the few who make it to Mighty Ruler, that puts you above 87.53% of other players. So almost in the top 90% of players on Tekken. If you make it to the blue ranks, this is where things start to get a little bit interesting, a little bit tougher. You know what I'm saying? You'll have to start learning how to play some real Tekken eventually, or you're not gonna make it too much further than this. If you've made it to the blue ranks, you are in basically the top 4% of players, because this puts you above 96.29% of other players. However, if you are one of the very, very, very few who get through the blue ranks, and you make it to Tekken King, the second layer of purple ranks, maybe you want to call it fuchsia, magenta, or something like that. That puts you above 99.61% of players. You are in the top 1% of players if you make it to Tekken King. I don't think I'm that good yet. Those are typically going to be pretty good Tekken players, I would say. And I don't think I'm quite there yet, but we're working on it. But with that, that is going to conclude this video. So what does your Tekken rank say about you? Are you about average? You a little bit intermediate? You a little bit beyond that? Like somewhat competent player? Or are you kind of elite, you a little bit advanced, you kind of know a thing or two what you're doing? Or are you relatively new to the game? We're still in the learning process, a little bit more beginner, you know what I'm saying, and working your way into that intermediate level of play. And again, what you consider like beginner, novice, intermediate, elite, advanced, whatever, I guess those are kind of subjective. I don't really have clearly defined terms for that myself. Like I said, I also have a different perspective or a viewpoint on like how I view certain ranks and like levels of skill and everything like that. I'm also somebody who compares myself and other players constantly to like the highest level of play, because that's the highest level. So that's what we all should be aspiring to achieve and like work toward, assuming that you're somebody who intends to play the game long term and wants to improve or whatever, right? So like I'm into Fujin. I would say that's like a competent level that's like intermediate to me, but that might be really, really high level to you. And like just the way that I see the game, again, I base it a lot on personal experience. I feel like a lot of people that I fight aren't playing fundamental Tekken a lot of the time because they're not doing simple block punishment, simple whiff punishment. They may not have particularly great movement. And I say this like I'm not perfect at those things either. I still have a lot of things to work on, a lot of things to learn. That's all the more reason why I look at the ranks the way that I do, because it's like while Fujin is a high rank, I understand how much further there is to go and how much more there is to learn. And it's like, well, if I can make it this far with the things that I'm lacking, then what does that say about this level of play? You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Because like I feel like fundamentally there's still a lot of things. Like I can't Korean backdash or wave dash. I play Hwadong. Those are kind of important for me to know how to do, right? I can't just frame skyrocket. Now granted, that's a really hard just frame move, you know what I'm saying? But it's like it's a lot of strings that I leave unpunished. I don't always capitalize on things as well as I do. My combos are not optimal, you know what I'm saying? The character I play is kind of hard, but regardless, it's like I made it this far and I know that fundamentally I'm not particularly sound yet. There's still a lot of things I'm working on. But when I compare my fundamentals to the fundamentals of other players that are of similar level, I can see that they're lacking even more so than myself, which is why I've continued to rank up, you know, with relative ease up to this point, I would say. But with that being said, I think that's going to conclude this video. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. What do you think? And let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hit this video with a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already so you can stay tuned for all the awesome content that I'm bringing you. With all that being said, that's pretty much all of today. And remember, nothing could happen until you swing the bat. Later.